We're not going back to Oz, but we are returning to Kansas, where the stakes are at an all-time high.
It's all offense from this point forward.
It's officially the round of 12. And of those 4 eliminated drivers,
Kyle Larson is the man.
You can forget about second chances.
Yeah, it's on me, obviously. It's my mistake.
No need to click your heels, but you can start your engines. Another around the track
I truly feel like we can battle for the championship.
begins now.
Another round is in the rear view for both the Xfinity and the Cup Series, but NASCAR's high-octane action is just heating up as we head to Kansas. Welcome to the fastest half hour in sports. This is Around the Track. My name is Gabe McDonald. My crew chief, America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds, is here as well. He'll be along shortly because we have a big week in the racing world. Cup Series eliminates 4 and moves to the round of 12, but for Xfinity, they'll kick off the playoffs this weekend with its 12 best. Plus, we've got Corey LaJoie kicking the tires and something else. We'll get to that shortly. So let's go ahead and drop the green flag and not waste any more time because we are headed out west this week. It's fitting that there's a casino on the backside of this track because Kansas Speedway is a place where gambling pays off more often than not. Now, this is a track where you can run multiple lines to move up in the pack. There isn't just one groove where drivers can find speed. However, the trade-off here is that many of these guys can spin out on their own because grip is at a premium. That's probably why we see dozens of lead changes and multiple yellow flag laps here. But don't just take it from us, though. Let the drivers tell you.
We call that maybe not the wild card race, but it actually still in a lot of ways it is. We'll hopefully get to Kansas and have a solid run. That's what we need, is score some points, set ourselves in a good spot for the next round, and get through Talladega and the Roval. It's one race at a time.
I really look forward to Kansas next week. It's a track that we won at earlier this year, but we always run well there, so would love to go there and have another solid day, get some good stage points, and challenge for a win would be amazing. But really, just get a good finish and go to Talladega with a better gap than what we had like after Atlanta this round. So yeah, that's our goal, and just got to keep executing.
Now let's bring in the man who knows all about winning no matter where the race is held. America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds, is back here on Around the Track. And Larry, we'll talk the track and the Cup playoffs in just a second. But first, as a fan, how exciting is this time of the year as we move to another round of the playoffs?
I mean, it's so exciting. And I think when you look at this next round, the last round was pretty exciting when you think about Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol. But look at this round right here. Yeah, we've got the conventional track, 1.5 miles at Kansas Speedway. But then we go to Talladega, and then we end up with another road course of Charlotte Roval. So yeah, this is about as exciting, maybe except for those 12 drivers and teams that's fighting to move on to the next round.
Absolutely. We'll get to Kansas here in just a bit, but first we got to talk about how things are going to shake out in the round of 12. You have Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Harrison Burton, who are all eliminated after that first round. Now the next 3 races will shake out the top 8. You just mentioned where we're going next. If that started today, though, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe would all be out. But as we saw last week, these points can all be made up very quickly because Logano, he went from the top of the board down to the last spot since he was wrecked out early in Bristol. And we have plenty of racing left, including the Roval coming up in just 3 weeks with a lot of reconfiguration there. Larry, who needs a hot start this weekend to kick off the round of 12?
Everybody, because of what I said.
Yeah.
This is a conventional track. You don't want to go to Talladega or the Charlotte Roval where you're back against the wall. You want to go to Kansas, you want to qualify up front, you want to score stage points, and you possibly want to win the race. Then you can go to Talladega and the Charlotte Roval and just have fun and play with house money. But to me, Gabe, the big thing, this was the storyline of round number 1. Mistakes, issues, penalties, that's what cost Martin Truex Jr. and Ty Gibbs from moving on. Daniel Suarez was trying to hand it to him on a silver platter. They get busted for speeding. So my message to my team, my driver, is less. Yeah, we want to go out and win. We want good finishes, but we can't make mistakes because I promise you that will be a storyline in this round just like it was the last round.
Got to have some clean racing for sure. And, of course, nothing is guaranteed in NASCAR, but Kyle Larson, he's making it seem otherwise. It's a complete dominant performance last week at Bristol. A new attitude of sorts now in the playoff as well compared to last year. Larry, you love to call him Young Money. Is this really his title to lose right now in 2024?
I just don't see a lot of weaknesses with Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels. Yeah, they can be a little bit hit and miss. They can be a little bit up and down. But Gabe, what they did at Bristol, leading 462 laps and just absolutely dominating. The pit crew was flawless. Kyle Larson loves that racetrack. He's good at moving around, searching for grip. And I think about this round here coming up, maybe other than Talladega, the super speedways have not been great to Kyle Larson, but he won at Kansas when we were there in the spring, even though it was a very close finish. He's won at the Charlotte Roval. I just don't see a lot of weaknesses with that 5 team, and they've got a pretty good cushion right now above that cut line.
Real quick, just talking about Kyle too. I mean, when you look at, just the legacy he's already built, probably pound for pound the best driver in the world. What would a championship this year do for his legacy to continue to cement it?
Well, I think when you look at the fact that we only have one active driver right now with multiple championships, Kyle Busch. Gabe, this format we're in right now, winning a championship is tough because it comes down to one race. Currently at Phoenix, if you can win multiple championships and do it in such a short period of time that he's done it, transitioning into this Gen 7 car, I think that would be huge, but I think he's already a first ballot Hall of Famer.
No doubt. We got to talk about the task at hand this weekend, Kansas as a track, because we detailed it earlier. The place has multiple grooves. You don't really have to stay on one preferred line the entire time here because there are multiple ways to win at Kansas as we've seen over the years. How are some of the drivers going to be able to maneuver, just having to race toward the top and even just trying to work out these multiple grooves?
Yeah, Kansas has become one of the raciest mile-and-a-half tracks we go to. It was repaved and reconfigured back in 2011, but I think the one thing that really helps this racetrack is progressive banking. It goes from 17 degrees at the bottom up to 20 degrees. These guys can move around. They're looking for grip, but the other thing they're looking for is clean air. But if you can make your car handle up against that wall, you saw the video a while ago with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, if you can stay up against that wall, what that does, Gabe, you carry a good bit of speed off the corner, and that speed carries all the way down those long straightaways. But when you run that close to the wall, you better be careful not to step across the line.
But you got to be clean on pit road as well because Chase Briscoe, he had a pretty tough day the other week, and it nearly cost him, but he was able to recover. What's really the biggest obstacle that teams are going to face on pit road coming here to Kansas this week?
Yeah, you possibly will make a number of pit stops, and for the most part, you're going to be making 4-tire pit stops. Tire fall off, tire degradation is pretty high there. The only time you may think about doing just 2 tires, and we saw it in the spring race when we got that caution and set up an overtime finish, is jumping in there for track position and get 2 tires. But pit road speeding, Kansas is notorious for drivers getting busted on pit road. The stages, they're 80, 85, and 102. The fuel window's about 65 laps. They're going to split those stages in half, maybe come a little earlier before halfway, trying to get advantage of those 4 tires.
There's going to be a lot of strategy in play there, and we got a lot more with Larry, including talking about one driver who might have missed his calling as a baller. No, not that ball. Check this out.
Make my team do practices. I make them study film. I've got tape on all these guys.
You heard the man ahead of his debut in the 51 this weekend. Corey LaJoie has been studying. He talks with us not about driving, but about kicking it with his competition on the dirt diamond. And all 3 major touring series are now in their postseasons, but none may be more intriguing than the Xfinity playoffs on the CW network. Talk about Cole Custer's chance to repeat and which driver might be bailing for the Cup Series sooner than later. And here's something you may or may not know about old Larry Mack. He is a big wrestling fan. Up next, we'll show you how the WWE and NASCAR are a tag team that simply cannot be beat. We got more around the track coming up next. Harrison Burton might be out of the Cup Series playoffs, but he's no longer out of a job. Burton announcing that he's going full-time into the Xfinity Series in 2025, driving for AM Racing. AM just renewed its agreement with Roush Yates Engines, who works with Mustang engines, something Burton is very familiar with. As you know, Burton was a surprise entry in this year's Cup Series playoffs after winning at Daytona earlier this year. Now, back in July, it was announced that Josh Berry, who was currently at Stewart-Haas, would replace Burton at Wood Brothers in that 21 car. So where does that leave Riley Herbst? Well, according to one report, he doesn't even know. Herbst told Joe Sturgsley earlier this week he's, quote, not confident about his 2025 plans. Currently, he's in the Xfinity playoffs as a serious contender, but the rides at Haas are already filled by Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer. Now, it's been long rumored that Riley would move to Cup with 2311 Racing, but only if they fielded a 3rd car. And with everything going on with the charter drama, no one really knows what will happen up next. And speaking of the Xfinity Series, what a debut we had on the CW network last week for the regular season finale. Cole Custer not only took the checkered flag in Bristol, but he secured a regular season championship to go along with his overall title from last season. Now, Larry, Cole is coming back to Cup next season, and we can certainly see why. What makes Double O Custer such just a power move and just such a good driver right now?
I love his attitude, and I love the journey that he's been on. He was in the Xfinity Series for a number of years and won a number of races. Didn't win a championship, but won a number of races. They moved into the Cup Series. Series. And it was a tough year to go to the Cup Series because as a rookie, it was when COVID hit and you were showing up at these racetracks with no practice, just qualifying and go racing with a green flag. But he did win a race at Kansas Speedway, but the performance was not there. But I think Stewart-Haas Racing had fallen off as well. And you know what? He bit the bullet. He moves back to the Xfinity Series. He wins those races last year. He won the championship last year, and I would say he's got to be one of the favorites here in 2024.
Would you say he's a favorite right now to win it?
I don't know if I'm saying he's the favorite, but he's one of the favorites.
But now let's hear from some of the guys who are going to be battling for that championship in the Xfinity Series.
You know, while I would love to go to Phoenix and have a shot at a championship, I also know that we got to get to Phoenix. And if I look at the two individual rounds before the final round, there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of question marks, there's a lot of things that could go in your favor and could go against you. So, you know, we just have to go into it with the mindset of we've scored a lot of points this year, we've done all the right things, and even if we don't have the finishes to show for it, we've had the points to show for it. So
it would be huge. I mean, I think it would mean a ton to everybody at our organization with everything that's gone on this season. So everybody's worked so hard and has had every excuse to not have a great year. So I feel like everybody's stayed together extremely well, and we've been able to put really fast cars on the racetrack. And like you said, going back-to-back championships is something that's definitely a statement. You know, it's something that's really cool to do. And we have such a great opportunity to accomplish that this year, and you just don't get many once-in-a-lifetime opportunities like that. So we want to put everything we can into it to try and make it happen.
Now, Larry, this is right up your alley. Since we're talking Custer, let's talk wrestling. This weekend at Kansas, Custer will be the latest to drive a CW Network Xfinity car, this time featuring the stars of WWE's NXT brand. Now, the regular season champ will be joined on his car by NXT champion Ethan Page, NXT Women's champion Roxanne Perez, and more. Now, NXT is a lot like the Xfinity series where it houses WWE stars of tomorrow. I know you're a main roster guy, but do you know any of these NXT guys?
I know a few of them, but I'm a big SmackDown fan. Of course, they're on the USA Network now. Big Roman Reigns fan. You think about Cole Custer. He stood up there on that top of that victory lane the other night. He looked down at everybody and he said, "Acknowledge me. I have conquered Bristol with that sword." But yeah, it is one of my favorites, watching it on Friday night, watching NXT now on CW. And I know you got Cody Rhodes, the American Dream, but my man Roman Reigns, he's back. Acknowledge me.
We love it. Of course, NXT will premiere on the CW Network on Tuesday, October 1st. Now, going back to Bristol for a little bit, NASCAR Senior Competition Director Elton Sawyer is, quote, baffled at the lack of tire wear during last Saturday's playoff race at the last Great Coliseum. Now, if you remember, during the spring race at Bristol, there was excessive tire wear in a race that had 54 lead changes, which is a new track record. In comparison, last weekend's race had only 8 lead changes, with the winner Kyle Larson dominating the race, leading 462 laps, which is a new record for the Bristol night race. Larry, what do you make of all this and just the big difference that we saw between these two races?
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of crew chiefs and a lot of engineers this week, people a lot smarter than old Larry Mack, and they are as confused as everybody. I think what really muddies the water, you think about a concrete surface. We have Bristol, we have Dover, we have Nashville, we have the corners at Martinsville, very temperature sensitive. And what that does is whether the track takes rubber or not. And if the track does not take rubber like in the spring, the tire wear is going to be way up. But it was much cooler. They're very temperature sensitive. But what muddies the water, Gabe, is Goodyear went back there in July, 90-degree heat with 6 teams, and did a tire test, and the tire wear was up. So I think everybody went into this race last week thinking we're going to have excessive tire wear, but we didn't. We knew immediately when that track opened on Friday for practice, when it started taking rubber, we're not going to have a lot of tire wear. We're not going to have a lot of give up. I still think it was a good Bristol race, but it totally caught everybody off guard, including myself.
Definitely a big head scratcher for sure. Well, he's already announced the double attempt part 2 for next season, but does Kyle Larson have F1 aspirations as well? What can't this guy drive? We discuss coming up next. And imagine going to the ballpark and seeing a bunch of NASCAR stars and personalities playing kickball. Well, it's happening again, and it's all thanks to Corey LaJoie. We'll kick it with him next on Around the Track. Back on Around the Track, Kyle Larson might be looking to be the most complete race car driver in the world. Well, at Kevin Harvick's happy hour this week, Larson told everyone he wants a shot to race in a Formula One car. Zach Brown, the McLaren Racing CEO, not the singer, also talked to Harvick about putting Larson in an F1 vehicle, and it doesn't sound like it's out of the question. Now, Jimmy Johnson got to do it a few years back at a test, and of course Juan Pablo Montoya is a NASCAR driver who made a name in F1 and IndyCar before coming over. And when watching the Bank of America Roval 400 in just a few weeks, you may spot a few colorful quote turtles scattered around the track. These turtles, which will be utilized as rumble strips placed around the 17-turn Roval course, were painted this week by 64 fifth graders in the Charlotte area with the help of a couple of NASCAR drivers. Daniel Hemrick and last year's Roval 400 winner AJ Allmendinger were out of the track to help out the students with their special projects. Now, don't expect them to have any advantage, though. The Roval is still a beast of another kind.
It's a really cool event, you know, and it's fun to know that what they're painting on the turtles will be on the racetrack. You know, try to get them to see, like, hey, you watch this race in a couple of weeks, that these turtles are going to be on the racetrack, and you just never know. Maybe you open their eyes to something new that they never thought of, and they become lifelong fans, or more importantly, they start working for our race teams as they get older.
Yeah, so to be on this side of it, to see all the students out here just using their imagination, you know, completely thriving within the STEM program. It just really, just like I said, seeing their imagination come to life through the painting of the turtles, and my kids both got to be involved. Just super cool experience. Always love being able to do this out here, especially at home.
Some cool stuff indeed. Well, Corey LaJoie was one of the most talked about names this past weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway, not because of the race itself, but the headlines that starting this weekend, he'd be swapping rides with Justin Haley. LaJoie now in the 51 of Rick Ware Racing, Haley in the Spire 7. But when we talked with him, it wasn't about racing. It was about kickball. Mike Lissette kicked it with the driver to explain.
It is just about time for one of the most anticipated events of the NASCAR season.
I make my team do practices. I make them study film. I've got tape on all these guys.
As you might expect, Corey LaJoie is locked in. He understands what it takes to win. Now the 32-year-old vet is ready to kick things up a notch. Literally.
People misunderstand that, you know, kickball's a lot harder these days.
But even on the doorstep of middle age, it is still a heck of a lot of fun. Hence why all the big names keep coming out for LaJoie's Kickball Classic.
We got a ton of celebrities, a ton of drivers coming out October 10th right here at the Cannonball Stadium in downtown Kannapolis. It's going to be a heck of a night.
Defending Cup Series champion Ryan Blaney will be there. He joins LaJoie, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Bubba Wallace as team captains.
Oh, I said on his own, that might have been an exaggeration.
Following a recent run-in on the track, let's just say Kyle Busch remains unconfirmed as a guest, although it's not due to a lack of effort from LaJoie.
He hasn't accepted the invitation the last couple years, which is part of it. I try to be particularly nice to the guys who come out and play kickball.
As far as the event goes, that kindness hasn't just been exclusive to his peers. Heading into its fourth year, LaJoie's Kickball Classic has already raised some serious cash for charity. Now he's got his sights set on reaching an impressive milestone.
I would like to collectively this year get the entire 4 years of the event be over $1 million.
Getting there is going to take work.
Corey making the third a second.
But keep in mind, LaJoie's already been putting in the effort.
May or may not be one of the best co-ed kickball players of all time, not to brag.
Mike Lissette, Around the Track.
Appreciate it, Mike. And this is going to be star-studded. Ryan Blaney got the first-round pick and took former NFL safety Kurt Coleman. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. also took a former NFL safety turned pit crew machine, Bernard Pollard. Bubba Wallace, he took the beast of the NFL players in the pool, running back great Jonathan Stewart. Now, LaJoie got the final pick of the first round. He took former WWE champion, the phenomenal AJ Styles. I have to find a way to get Larry Mack on that roster. I'm sure he has some game on the kickball field as well. But not only did Kyle Larson burn it down last week in Bristol, but he took the checkered flag earlier this year at Kansas. He even had a co-pilot for the Victory Lap. That's his son Owen right there. Who can stop the Larson Zone? We've got the Vegas odds and our Victory Lane locks coming up next on Around the Track. All right, let's see who Vegas thinks has the best chance to take the checkered flag in Kansas and lock up a spot in the round of 8. These odds right here are courtesy of DraftKings. No surprise that Kyle Larson is at the top. He's a 33-10 favorite after coming away with the win back during the spring race and that phenomenal finish with Chris Buescher, the closest in NASCAR history. Denny Hamlin is right behind him at 9-2. Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Chase Elliott round out the top 5 to win at Kansas. All right, Larry, before we wrap things up, time to look into that crystal ball of yours and make your pick this weekend. Start us off with our Victory Lane locks. Who you got?
Well, I'm not surprised Vegas odds, Hendrick Motorsports and the Toyota Brigade, but I look hard at the Toyota Brigade. They have won 4 of the 5 Gen 7 races there at Kansas. 2311 has won 3 of those 4. I'm going to go with the guy. He won Talladega in the spring. He won Michigan here just a few weeks ago, but he's kind of went soft in the first round. But I think Tyler Reddick is going to do the same thing he did 1 year ago. And you know what he will do? He will go acknowledge me. I'm on to the round of 8.
Hey, look at that. Tyler Reddick getting it done. You mentioned the Toyotas. I'm going to follow suit and pick one as well. I'm rolling with one of the favorites. Give me Denny Hamlin to take another checkered flag at Kansas. He's been fantastic at this track. 4 career wins, 10 additional top 10 finishes. Of course, he won the spring race last year, the most recent win, of course, being that thrilling finish last year with Kyle Larson. Of course, they battled in the final laps. Denny said he's playing offense from here on out as we move into the round of 12. I think he punches that ticket to the round of 8 early. He always says it's his year until it's not.
He needs a good Kansas, though. He does not have a big cushion above that cut line right now. Talladega's been a little tough on Denny. Charlotte Roval, road courses with the Gen 7, he's not been that good. He needs to possibly win the race, but especially score a lot of points at Kansas on Sunday.
See if we can get it done. Enjoy the race at Kansas this weekend. We'll see you back next week when we preview the round of 12 race at Talladega.